your source for everything paranormal. Para X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. Now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
Hey, merry meet everybody, and welcome to Stirring the Cauldron here on Para X Radio. Tonight my guest is Reverend Tim Shaw, and we're going to be talking about a topic that is often overlooked, but one of utmost importance, and it really needs to be addressed, and that's paranormal accountability. In other words, taking responsibility for our actions in the paranormal world, whether we're psychics, paranormal investigators, witches, or any other kind of light workers. All of us who deal with the metaphysical owe it to those who dwell in our world and those on the other side as well to do the right thing. And while there isn't one particular set of rules to follow and everyone has different opinions of how things should be done, there are certain guidelines that we need to keep in mind. And the most important phrase I can come up with comes from my personal witchy belief system, and that is, "and ye harm none." So now that I've opened the can of worms, I think it's a good time to bring Reverend Tim in. Hi, Tim, and welcome to my soapbox tonight.
Hey, how you doing, little sister? What's going on? I'm just trying to catch a breath after our last show.
I know. You had a great show tonight, and I can understand why you're just a little bit out of air, and I hope you don't get too riled up tonight. Otherwise, we're going to have a really big problem with you.
Oh, no. I don't think we're going to get riled up. I think we're going to talk a lot about common sense tonight and personal responsibility, which are some things that I have a real strong opinion on.
Yeah, and so do I. And like I said, I mean, it's not something that we normally talk about, but I got to thinking that it's something that needs to be addressed every so often. You see things posted on Facebook, you hear people say things, and kind of gets the radar up, but nobody, people kind of like gloss over it. And okay, so let me start by saying that I think the first and foremost key to being accountable for our actions is to be doing them for the right reason. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard someone say, hey, I'm going on a ghost hunt because it sounds like a fun thing to do. Or someone mentioning that they found a magic spell on the internet and decided to try and see it just so it would work. Or somebody will pick up a divination tool like a Ouija board and treat it like a parlor game. And, while these people may be very well-meaning in their intentions, they're jumping into things without understanding the process and the ramifications of doing things like that. And in lots of cases, you know this as well as I do, they don't realize that things can and will go awry. It's like jumping in the pool without knowing how to swim. You think that's a fair analogy, Tim?
Well, that is because of the fact that some people just don't. Well, I'll just throw it right out there. Some people just don't think. When they think of paranormal investigations, when they think of spell work, when they're casting spells, they think of TV, they think of entertainment. And the problem with that is the fact that this stuff works. This is reality. And they're afraid to know, what goes with reality. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people have contacted me and said, can you fix? I'm going to be honest with you. I've had 2 personal cases where reality TV people have gone and we've had to go and fix it, or we've had to go and I had to counsel these people because people see this. People miss the whole point. People think what happens on TV, what's going on in the internet is always the real world, and it's not. People think what they're doing is a game, and it's not. I mean, I'm coming from a very, very strong religious background and ethics when I'm doing my work. And, I don't know how many times people have said to me, well, I want to be a reader because it's cool, or I want to make money. That's not the reason to do this stuff. People have to understand that for every action there is a reaction. That's the way the universe works. That's part of the natural laws. People have got to understand that. And for anything that you do, whether it's just going on a paranormal investigation, picking up a recorder, going and playing with a Ouija board, there will be a reaction. And you know what? Sometimes those reactions are not always what we want them to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe we should kind of break down some of this into categories and point out some of the danger zones. And since you are a medium, let's start with that. What responsibility do you have towards the people you do readings for and those on the other side who give you the messages to pass on?
Well, basically, we are to be a medium is the guy in the middle, the person in the middle. We're the mouthpiece of spirit. We're here for one direct reason, and that is to serve those living and those on the other side. We have a responsibility to bring forth greetings and messages of those entities that want to be heard, that want to go and make contact with those on this side. Now, here's where the ethics come in. Do I go and say, listen, spirit on the other side's telling me, hey, you know what? You shouldn't be having an affair. Mm-hmm. Spirit goes and says to me, listen, I'm seeing some stuff that, that's not really kosher what you're doing with your health. You've got to be very, very careful with that. Ethics will go and dictate that I cannot go and tell somebody something that they will go and follow my words exactly. That is going and creating something that we don't want. We don't want people to go and listen. We want people to use their common sense. Everybody has free will. And that's what we want people to use, free will. But we don't want to go, and ethically, I'm not going to go and I'm not going to string you on. I mean, yeah, you know what? If somebody comes to me every single day for a reading, I can bring them a reading if I want. But you don't do that. You don't go, I don't want to create a cult. I don't want people to go and think that they have to come to me for a reading, or that they have got to go and they've got to come to me to make any kind of decision. I worked for people like that. I really did. And you know what? I remember 3 o'clock in the morning, people calling up with questions that they don't know what to do for the next day. Well, you know what? That's not life. What my job is to ethically help you bring forth proof that those on the other side are still with us, bring forth proof and healing to those who are grieving, and going and helping in certain manners, such as people who are like, well, you know what, I don't know, my finances are messed up, this is happening, that's happening. I'm here to tell you what Spirit's going to tell me. And Spirit may tell me that, listen, things are going to be okay. Or, listen, you got to get off your duff and you got to go do something. But it's not my business to get so deep into a person's life that I'm supposed to control it. And that's what's happening, and I see that too much as a medium. As a medium, I'm seeing people that are out there to make money off of it so they can live. And here's the bottom line, people. If you got to do this to make money, go get yourself a job, because this is supposed to be an enhancement to your life. This is supposed to be part of your religion. This is not supposed to be your total sole employment unless you've really gone and you've gone and paid your dues like everybody else. A medium should be out there to go and be just like everybody else. And that's where people are missing the boat. Also, mediums should not be out there stringing people along. And they should be going and being honest with them. There's too many people out there that are mediums and psychics now that are giving people a grocery list. And the grocery list is, oh, you're going to be good, you're going to do this, and then they're giving them cold readings. It's all karmic. It's going to come back at them. It's going to take them out. I'm going to tell you that right now. And if anybody else around here that thinks that it isn't going to happen, I dare you to do it. I dare you to do it.
Well, there's the other thing, too, that I hear a lot about, and that is mediums who absolutely just jump in and read you without asking permission.
That's totally unethical. I was a co-assistant pastor at a small church, and the other pastor said to me, you know what, I'm going to take my class to a mall, and we're going to go, and I'm going to have my class walk up to people and give them readings. Are you kidding me? That's wrong. Ethically, that's wrong on so many levels, because people don't need readings. They don't need it. They don't want somebody coming up and telling them that. This is something that is a freak show. You want to be part of a freak show? You want to be part of a traveling circus? Well, that's what you do. What you do is you always ask if people want a reading. People, when they need readings, they will seek you out. None of this going out there and doing it. You know what? I am not a sideshow freak. I am not going to go out there, and I refuse to do. People come up to me and go, hey, read me. Hey, guess what? I got a couple of other words for you. No, you don't do that, because you never, ever, ever want to be a sideshow. I mean, that's the way it is. This is a gift from Spirit, what we do. Anybody can do it, but it's a gift from Spirit when Spirit works so intrinsically and so close with you that you can go and bring forth information that is pertinent to that person's life. It's an intimate conversation, and you never, ever, ever go and intrude on someone's own private lives. You don't want to go and, who knows, somebody might be suicidal, and you might come up and say, listen, they're saying on the other side, maybe it's a good idea that you should do something. Well, that person may take that and go and kill themselves.
Right.
That's how you can change somebody's life. And you want that on your conscience? I know I don't want that on my conscience, and I know Spirit doesn't want me to do that. So we don't do that.
No, and, as an example, I was talking to Lisa J. Smith one day, just on the phone. We were just having a really fun conversation about nothing. And all of a sudden she jumped in and she goes, Marla, I really have a message for you from the other side. Will you accept it? And she asked, and now Lisa and I are friends. So, I mean, there is that certain etiquette that you need to follow. Now, I just got a question from Cece in the chat room, and she says, so what is the response to psychic junkies? Is it the responsibility of the medium to make the client aware of their actions?
As in, if they're coming to if they're coming to you too often, you cut them off. That's your responsibility. You cut them off. I don't want somebody coming to me every week. I don't want to be part of their lives. What happens is you become an enabler. Life is not for you to have somebody enable, somebody to tell you what you should be doing in your life. You should be out there being your own person and learning and making your own mistakes along the way. That's not what we do. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're not enabling anybody. We're aiding them, but we're not supposed to be out there going. And again, if I know people that are sucking people dry for money, $100 a shot once a week. Is that right? Absolutely not. People
not
should
morally anyway.
No, they should come. If they come to you for a reading every 3 months, every 6 months, once a year, that's enough. That's more than enough. But there are a lot of reading junkies. There's psychic junkies out there. I know people that go to a psychic fair and they'll go to 3-4 readers. And most of the time they'll go only because of the fact that they want to hear what they want to hear. And a good medium's job is not to tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear, whether you like it or not. And you know what? I've had people get up and get upset. Well, you know what? I'm not the one that's telling you to do it. The other side's the one that's telling you to do it. I'm only the mouthpiece.
Yeah, well, I always say we're the tool. I mean,
exactly.
Used in the right vernacular, it doesn't sound half bad. All right, so let's jump into the next category, which is paranormal investigators. Now, that can kind of be broken down right off the bat into two subcategories. Those who do it for sport and those who are here to help others who, may live in a miserably haunted location or, have attachments, that kind of thing. In that case, what is the responsibility on both those sides? Well, maybe just doing it for sport doesn't really have a whole lot of responsibility because they're not taking it if they're doing it.
No. Listen, if you're doing it for sport, okay, you really should have some kind of spiritual foundation before you even think about doing paranormal investigations, just because of the simple fact that you can go and open up a can of whoop ass on yourself, that you can take home attachments, and there's a lot of negative things that can happen. Mm-hmm. Now, people who want to do this because they think it's cool, I always tell them the same thing. Listen, stay away from houses, stay away from clients, go to public investigations. There are so many places you can go and investigate where you can hone your skills, or you do something that is not so intertwined with a client. When you start working with clients in home settings, you've got to be careful, because you can go, and anybody that knows what paranormal investigating is on an intimate basis and is good at it knows that you can amp up so much negativity within a location that these people are going to suffer for it. And what happens? Inevitably, you drive away, and these people have to live with it. So, I mean, there's a lot of responsibility with that. People have to go and, be really, really careful what they're going to do. I mean, again, if you want to go to I have no problems with people that, are chipping at this and they're working with it. I often hope that the EVPs and that the evidence that they do collect will somehow aid them in the understanding that there is a life after death. I really do hope that that's what they're doing. So I have no problem. Let them go to a public place, or a bar, or an old folks home, or a former hospital or something. I have no problem with that. It's just where you're starting to work with people who are living in these locations that you really have to be very, very careful.
Well, when you're dealing with the public in general, not even paranormally, but in general, if you have some kind of an impact on somebody's life in any way, even the smallest way, that comes with a tremendous responsibility. And going into something because you think you want to help, but don't have the chops to do it, other than, wishing and hoping that it'll work, can be so catastrophic in the long run.
Well, here's the other thing. Again, people have to understand that even I get into situations, in investigations, or if we're working with a place or a negative, let's say it's a negative house, a location where there's a lot of negative activity going on, even I get to the point after I've pulled out all my tricks out of my bag there, and it's still going on, that I will go and pass the case on to someone who is better than I. Or I will go and call up somebody like Johnny Zaffis or call up a friend of mine, depending on the situation or the religion, and I ask for their advice. This is what you have to do. And but the problem is we've got people out there that are going into these clients' homes, and they're there for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and the activity is negative, and they're not doing anything, and then all of a sudden they turn around and say, okay, that's enough, and they drive away. That is reprehensible. And let me tell you something. Karma's going to come back and bite them in the ass, because what they're doing is wrong. You have to be able to know. You've got to know your own limitations. As a paranormal investigator, as a medium, I personally know my boundaries, how far I can go. And when I run into a problem, I don't think twice about calling somebody in. And this is where networking comes in. That's so important. Anybody that heard me speak down in Gettysburg at Phenomenology 103 this year heard my talk on, you got to network. Just because you're a paranormal investigator or you got a group doesn't mean that you should go out there and network only with paranormal investigators. You should go out there. You should network with psychologists. You should be out there working with therapists. You should know people that maybe even exorcists within certain religions. You should know people out there who are maybe working with Native Americans or in certain religious organizations, because you never know what you're going to run into. You've got to be well-rounded, well-versed. And people go, well, I can't do that. Well, right away, you as soon as you say I can't do it, well, guess what? You're not going to do it. And you know what? The internet is a wonderful tool. So all you got to do is you got to go out there and just start looking. Look in your phone books. Just start one thing at another. You're going to be surprised how many psychologists and therapists out there are so in tune to what we're doing. And here's another thing, guys. Just because it walks like a ghost and looks like a ghost doesn't mean it's a freaking ghost. We work with. I tell this story all the time. We got a call from a woman that's talking about getting beaten up and attacked and this and that. Well, guess what? After we start looking into it even a little bit closer, we find out that all these people have been in there. All these different groups have been in there. One's telling them it's a demon. One's telling them it's negative. They got New Agers coming in, saging the house. They had ministers coming in, saying prayers. They had a Roman Catholic priest come in there, and nobody ever asked if the woman ever knew when she was going to get attacked. And we asked that question, and guess what? Yeah, you know why? Because she said that when the refrigerator started to run an extra long time, the spirit runs, spirit's collecting energy. Well, you know what? There's your red flag right there, Right. And it's either A, this woman is an attention seeker, B, this woman is mentally has something wrong with her, or C, she wants her place to be haunted. Now, what are you going to do? You can go and you can go in there and do your investigation. And if you don't find anything, or you find something very, very, very common, such as like just a benign EVP or whatever, it's not what they're going to want to hear. Or you got to look into the mental state of this woman. These people, sometimes these people are not, they're not right, for a lack of a better term. And you have to be able to go, and it's your responsibility to suggest. And I come right out, and if I run into a situation like that, I don't even think twice about asking what kind of medicine they're on. I have no qualms about asking if they've ever had any kind of mental problems, anything that may have sparked something like this. You have to go and you have to ask this. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to go and say, listen, I want you to talk to this person just for an evaluation. You have to be able to do it, and it's up to them. Because, I know groups that will go to a house. They'll drive 2-3 hours to a location. 6 o'clock in the morning, they're driving home. They're halfway home. These people get calls. The house is crazy. They turn around, go back, nothing in the house. turn around, leave the next night, boom, they go back time after time after time after time. And you know what? Here's a clue, guys. If that happens, you've got to go and you have to dedicate X amount of days to stay there to see if their claims are proper. Even if it's a week, 2 weeks, sometimes you have to do it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I learned that from John Zaffis. John is the one that told me that. And I'm going to tell you something. Any time that I've heard of this happening is either one of two things are happening. One, this place, the ghosts or the spirit, the entities that are in there that are playing with you, but they eventually will slip up and they'll eventually do something once they get used to your vibrations within the residence. Or B, these people are out for a thrill seek, and they're just there because they think it's cool. I mean, I know a woman that's a paranormal investigator right now. We went and investigated her house. Guess what? We're not the only ones. She keeps calling people. Mm-hmm. And she's an investigator now. So what does that tell you? She wanted her house to be haunted.
Yeah, I had the same thing. We were called in to investigate a house in Hollywood, Mary Astor's old house. And this woman was in panic and things were happening and all kinds of horrible things. And we went and we investigated and she didn't seem too serious about it. And come to find out, I think it was Richard Sennett had been there before us. And several other teams had been there after us. So, you know, it's just one of those things where people sometimes do want the attention. I mean, I'm not saying, the house there was something definitely wrong there, but not, I think, to the extent that they wanted it to be.
If there's more than three groups mm-hmm. that have gone into a house, I won't go. It's not worth my time. Because, first of all, chances are they're thrill seekers, or B, you know what? I'm done cleaning up people's messes. Mm-hmm. I'm done. We had a place. We had a real nasty investigation that we were preparing to work on. These people got on the internet and wrote to just about everybody and anybody in my area for them to come to that house. They sent me some photographs which are pretty nasty. I mean, some really bad scars in the back where the people got scratched, and there was a scratch on the forehead, and stuff was being ripped up, and the woman's lingerie drawer was forever getting thrown around, and we had already ascertained through doing some work that there had been a pedophile that had actually lived in the house, and that could have probably amped something up or brought something in. The people that live there, but the problem is the people that live there, they wanted these people in. They kept calling people. It was one person after another, after another, after another, after another. And you want to know a secret? They're going to be on a network show this coming season because they couldn't get any kind of satisfaction from everybody that went down there to work. They called in this group. The group came in. They filmed it. And at the end of it, they say, "Oh, we resolved it. Isn't this great?" They drove away. 2 weeks later, guess what? On my Skype business phone here that I use for the radio show and for clients, guess what? Can you come back? Can you do this? It's amped up again. You want to know what? There are some places that you just got to move out of.
Well, it's true, and I had to laugh because I didn't know before we went into this one particular house that anybody had investigated it, and I had Richard Sennett on my show, several months afterwards, and he brought it up, and that was the first I'd heard that he'd already been there too,
Right.
So it's just like, okie dokie. I've got a couple of questions from the chat room, so let's go to those, then we can get back to the next topic. But it's from Jody, and she said that she's heard this mentioned a few times. There's paranormal activity, but it's not haunted. What's the difference between paranormal activity and haunted?
That's real simple. There are three types of haunting. There's residual haunting, which is like just a recording of something that went on. You've got intelligent haunting, which is an actual entity in which there's two-way communication. You've got to have some kind of two-way communication in order to go and have it classified as intelligent. And there's mindless psychokinetic energy that is naturally occurring at a location. What happens with that is it can pop windows, pop doors, it can shake beds, it can bang on walls, it can produce a variety of phenomena, but there is nothing that's with it. I mean, you go into this place, you go into a location that has this, and you're not going to get a good EVP. You're not going to get anything solid. You're not going to get any kind of reaction to a lot of things that you're going to be bringing in, whatever types of meters or whatever you're using. Even dowsing rods, you're not going to get a really good. You're not even going to get a really good connection with dowsing rods. And all it is, it's just that, and it usually happens during the fall and springtime of the year when this starts to really go and amp up. And it has, and we believe it has something to do with ions in the air and static electricity that builds up. And we recommend that you go and you introduce humidity into the air. And for some reason, it just seems to quiet stuff down. And I've actually suggested it in 3 cases, and in all 3 cases, after ascertaining that we're not really getting anything residual, or we're not getting anything intelligent, after introducing this, moisture into the air of the apartment or the building, the activity almost disappeared. So that's what that is, just mindless psychokinetic energy that is naturally occurring.
Okay. All right. Well, I think this is probably a good time to take a break so you can go get a drink of water.
You think?
I kind of think so, yeah. So why don't we do that? When we come back, I've got a question from Cece, and we'll get back to some of the other things that I plan to talk about tonight.
That scares me.
Let's do it, my brother.
Hey, gang, Stirring the Cauldron. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Paranormal Radio,
The Kentucky Area Paranormal Society.
sharing their years of experience investigating the unknown.
CAPS Paranormal Radio.
Honored by the paranormal community for excellence in paranormal broadcasting.
CAPS Paranormal Radio.
Hosted by Dave and Tom. Presented by Para-X. Every Sunday from 8 p.m. until midnight. Right here on the CBS Radio Network.
Where can you find new age supplies, unique gifts, and great prices? At Mimosa Books and Gifts, we feature affordable, quality products for enhancing your spiritual awareness. Mimosa's online shop, www.mimosaspirit.com, offers incense, deity statues, books, music, yoga and meditation supplies, and so much more. You can also visit our cozy store in downtown Madison, Wisconsin, at the corner of State and Gilman Streets. Check our website often for new products and special offers at www.mimosaspirit.com. Can't find what you need online? Call Mimosa Books and Gifts at 608-256-5432. Again, that's 608-256-5432. Mimosa Books and Gifts, your spiritual resource center.
Coming this fall from Schiffer Books. From the author of the Ghost of Hollywood series and Workplace Spells comes a brand new book for all lovers of pets. Animal Spells and Magic by Marla Brooks. Learn how to choose your next pet according to their astrological sign. Explore animal superstitions. Learn 25 magic spells for your pets and get instructions on creating your own spells. Learn who to call upon and what to use to cast these spells. Includes special chapters by Reverend Tim Shaw, Psychic to the Stars Kenny Kingston, Psychic Medium Victoria Gross, Animal Communicator Dinah Roseberry, and Shaman Willie Windwalker Gibson. This is the perfect book for all animal lovers. Animal Spells and Magic by Marla Brooks. For details on how to get your copy of this amazing new book, go to www.schifferbooks.com or check out Marla Brooks online at www.marlabrooks.com. This would make the perfect gift for the animal lover in your life. Go to www.schifferbooks.com or ask about it at your local bookstore.
Hey, how about this? Music CDs that surround you in quantum fields of healing energy. That's right, it's called super quantum tone technology. And what it does is repattern the negative beliefs and trap subconscious energy that has been sabotaging your quality of life. It's a quick, easy, and inexpensive way to help change the things you want to change about your life. These music CDs can help you with relationship problems or prosperity and abundance. They can help you clear emotional issues or sharpen your mental clarity or get rid of stress, anxiety, and depression. They can even even help with degenerative diseases like cancer. There are so many to choose from, and all you have to do is press play. The benefits are remarkable, and they're pleasant to use. The healing energies are blended with music and nature sounds to create a vibrational medicine in the form of audio CDs. There are CDs for weight loss, stopping smoking, faster healing after surgery, deep sound sleep, stress relief, abandonment issues, and breaking free from addictions. Visit the website to listen to them and learn more at www.diamondcrystalmusic.com, where you will also find healing music solutions for hypertension, overwhelm, rejuvenation, longevity, loneliness, feelings of guilt, boosting your immune system, and much more. Visit www.diamondcrystalmusic.com. That's diamondcrystalmusic.com.
This is Dave from the Dave Matthews Band for RAD. When you go out and party, get drunk, then drive, you're not only loaded, you're a loaded weapon. When you celebrate, designate. Choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives, and so should you.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Here's Marla Brooks.
And since he said welcome back, I don't have to say it, but welcome back anyway. I've got Reverend Tim Shaw as my guest tonight, and the topic is paranormal accountability. And before we went to break, a couple of questions came in, so we're going to try to answer them. We've got one from Kat for both of us, and she asks if we can explain, well, I'm reading it wrong, but isn't all forms of protection just magic in the end?
Everything's magic.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Yeah.
I mean, everything's magic. I mean, it's all belief. And protection is belief. I mean, you can go and like I always say, I mean, you can go and dance around a fire with a dead chicken if that's what you want. If that's what floats your boat and makes you be able to go and believe that you're protected, so be it. If you want to go and wear medals, that's fine. You want to go and douse things with holy water, that's fine. But in the end, you have to decide what is the ritual that you're doing, and the ritual is nothing more than the focused intent. And if you so believe, so it shall be. So if you believe that you are personally protected, you are, and that's why I don't envelop myself in a white bubble. I believe that by living a decent life and being a good person and having a decent, and believing that all things are through me as a healer. The energy from spirit passes through me, and all I do is become a channel. It's the same thing with mediumship. I'm just nothing more than a channel. If that's the case, then this energy, this protection that I believe in emanates from spirit through me, thus I am protected. So I don't really worry about protection that much.
But it is magic, I think. I think everything is magic, just people sometimes don't realize that.
Exactly.
And that's why we're so misunderstood, right?
I don't know about you, but I'm not going there.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, just listen, Miss Bouffant LED lights, hairdos and stuff.
I'm working for you. All right, now got another very good question from Cece. It's about ethics, and so she said, having someone use your spells, someone taking a medium's advice. Do we assume karma for the results, and how can we distance ourselves from a client's action or the results?
Because a client has free will to do whatever they want. Mm-hmm. You no longer have to worry about the karma. Mm-hmm. If you go and so bring that message through that, well, listen, you had better do X, Y, and Z, or else, or you're going to be in a world of hurt or whatever. Mm-hmm. If you present it in that way, well, then you assume karma because you are really telling that person. But if you present it in a way that, listen, what Spirit is telling me is this. If you follow this path, it may not be good for you. So you really have to think about which way you're going. See, it all depends on the delivery, which way you're going to tell them. And you have to understand, at the end of the reading, when you're telling them this stuff, you have to say, and as always, you have free will. You are the one that decides what to do, what not to do, what to take from this reading, and what to leave behind. And if you do that, then you do not assume any of the karmic problems if these people are doing the wrong path.
Well, and also another point to bring up is when you tell somebody something, the way you tell it and the way they receive it could be two different things as well.
That's why you make it simple. Keep it simple, stupid, and that's what this is what it's all about.
I know you've hit me in the head with that several times.
Yes, I know, and you know what? And everybody out there listening, Marla has lumps on her head from me keep preaching to her. Keep it simple, stupid. No, when it comes to readings, you've got to make sure that it is conveyed. I always ask, do you understand? Do you have questions? Mm-hmm. And you got to make sure that you tell these people, and they have got to understand that. You've got to make it clear to them that it is their personal responsibility to use their own common sense, to go and take what you tell them or leave what you tell them. It's all up to them. All you are is a mouthpiece of spirit. You're nothing more than Uncle Joe coming up and saying, hey, I'm going to give you my opinion on this. Instead of Uncle Joe's dead, so Uncle Joe's coming through your mouth. That's the way it works, and you can take it or leave it.
And as far as spell work is concerned, somebody can ask me to do a spell, but I kind of consider that being asked to it, but the karma goes back on them because they're the ones that requested it.
Yeah, but
now,
also, wait a minute. Let's just jump into this. Let me jump into this because you know what? I work in the craft just like Marla does, even though that I am my religion is spiritualism. And the bottom line on spell work is you do it for the positive. You do it for the right reason. You never do anything negative or spiteful. You know what?
And I was just going to say that before you interrupted, that I wouldn't do anything bad to anybody. But go ahead.
Exactly. But I mean, here's the thing. I mean, people come up and we talked about. I talked about this Monday with Michelle Hall. If you're going to go and you're going to put a binding on somebody, you do it with love. You do it out there for the positive reasons. It is an offensive defense. You're doing it for the right reason, and you're not going out there and saying, you know what, I want this woman to shut up and get sick. You're doing it. I'm doing this out of love. I'm doing this out of love for all of us. I don't want conflict. I don't want to go and get you upset. I don't want to be upset. Let us just coexist. You do it from a positive way, and you'll never worry about karma. It's the minute you go and do something that's vindictive, that's nasty, and you're coming around saying, I hate you and I want you to suffer, that's when you get the karma back at you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
If I knew what I was talking about.
If you knew. Well, you just admitted that you do that stuff, so just knock it off.
Well, I have to because you're always on me. I mean, listen, listeners, I have not. My little sister Marla is always on me about admitting that I do anything in the craft. And yes, I do some things in the craft, but I'm more of a spiritualist than I am an actual witch, and that's the way it's going to be.
You don't need to qualify it.
No, I like to qualify it just because people want to know that,
Mm-hmm. You're just afraid people are going to call you witch.
Wouldn't be the first time. Necromancer is what I'm used to now.
Yeah, that's not so bad. But, I mean, and that was the next thing I was going to get into, was about witches, who not only cast spells for themselves, but at the request of others, because spell casting is so much more complex than people realize. I mean, what we do when we cast a spell is, in effect, affect the whole universe. We're not just, saying, okay, you're going to stub your toe. It goes far beyond that. We're putting something out there that may bounce off more than we planned, almost like a pinball game. And we have to be very careful about the wording or the intention of the spell, and very specific at the same time. People watch Bewitched and she twitches her nose and all is good or whatever. It goes so far beyond that scope. I mean, people, I don't think, understand that the ripple effect starts every time we cast a spell.
Well, it's the same thing as manifesting. You've got to be so specific. And this is what people don't understand. And this is where I had a problem with, and I've never read the book, The Secret, but I saw the video, and I had a huge problem with that. Because these people were going, I just want this, and poof, they're going to get it. You know what? There's so much more into it. You've got to be able to go, and you've got to be able to be so specific with what you're manifesting and the reasons behind it. Not just that you want it or you covet it. Mm-hmm. That's wrong. That's ethically wrong. You want it for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And that people are missing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's just so much out there. No, I'm not just talking about the craft itself, but paranormally that people don't really understand. I think, all right, I'm going to jump on my biggest pet peeve.
It's about time. You just stick your head. Listen, I've been putting my head on the chopping block for how long now, Marla? Now it's time for my little sister Marla to get up there and make people angry at her. I love it.
This isn't going to make anybody angry.
Come on, Marl. Come on, please.
However, I think my biggest pet peeve in all of this is people who have a gift for mediumship or paranormal investigation or empathic talents or, witches, whatever, but have never learned to use them correctly. And they think they know it all. This really bothers me. And worse, there's even worse than thinking you know it all. Worse is than thinking that there is no necessity for educating themselves properly.
Oh,
Tim,
yes.
I know you've studied for well over 30 years. I'm right behind you on that as well, about learning, in my case, about the craft and a little bit about mediumship from certain people. But what some fail to realize is that the learning never ends. I mean, a brain surgeon has to go to medical school, has to then do years in specialty, has to do internship, and after graduation then needs to take courses for the rest of his life that he's practicing to keep up with things. I mean, this is something that we constantly must do in order to grow. So, when somebody says, hey, I've been a medium for the last 6 months and I'm good and I don't need to be told anything, I know exactly what I'm doing. Or even drop it back to paranormal investigators. I've been doing this for a week and boy, have I had great results. Or, witches, hey, I can cast a spell. Well, anybody can cast a spell. That's not rocket science. But knowing and learning and finding out where all these things come from and the origins and the history of all of this stuff is as important and even sometimes more than having, quote, the gift to do them. Right?
Oh, I have to agree with that. First of all, I have, and this is where I part with a lot of people, and I'm going to go and preface this. I know a lot of great mediums that never studied. I really do.
Natural mediums.
They're natural mediums that never studied, but they were brought, and I'm going to just throw it right out to the parents. They were brought up right. They were blessed with common sense, and they were brought up ethically by parents who understood that there is a division between right and wrong, and humility and the taming of the ego. And then, of course, there are the ones that it bothers me. And what they are people who I mean, anybody can be a medium. Anybody can be a psychic. It's no big deal. The problem is people go out there and they think they can do whatever they want, and they don't understand the harm that they can bring to people psychologically, not just spiritually, not influencing their lives, but psychologically. People just don't get it. And the other thing is I always tell people to take training, because here's a prime example. In a class, there was an entity. One of my mediums, one of my students said, I'm getting it, he's dressed this way, this way, this way. I said, okay, that's great. Now, it sounds like this entity would have been someone from, let's say, the 1880s, by the way he was described. Now I said, okay, look closer. Buttons on his jeans or a zipper? Mm-hmm. Look closer. Is he wearing glasses? If so, what kind? Look closer. And you need someone to guide you. You do. And this is how it improves you. I know this is the way that I was brought up. And people need to know this. And also, you know what? You can get into a world of hurt, and you can go and you can screw yourself up. And a lot of these natural mediums go out there and they don't understand boundaries. Spirit has no concept of time. None whatsoever. That means, guess what? 3 o'clock in the morning, they're going to be knocking on your forehead saying, hey, wake up, I got to talk to you, Mm-hmm. Or you're standing in a bank line and you're going to get somebody, these spirits that are just going, hey, the woman in front of you, blah, 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 blah. Do you want to live like that? No. Again, I worked for a woman that couldn't go to a restaurant. She couldn't go shopping during the day. She had to go to an all-night supermarket to do her shopping. Why? Because she never was taught control. She was never taught properly boundaries.
Well, they don't know. A lot of people don't know empaths and psychics that they turn it off, shut that third eye off.
Exactly, and you have to learn to. And in my case, I had to learn to ignore it. And I'm in control of any kind of spirit communication, and that's what people have to understand. You're in total control whenever you're working with spirit, because you're the mouthpiece of spirit. Spirit does not run you. I don't know how many times people have recorded me saying, "Listen, this is my session. I'm in control. You don't want to play right, you're gone."
Except for that guy we had on the live seance. Yeah, that guy kind of took over, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, but I could have turned him off at any time I wanted.
Well,
that's the difference. That's the difference. Too many people let these entities go. And and the other thing that I have a big problem with is psychics and mediums when they go on paranormal investigations, and guess what? The paranormal investigation becomes all about them. You know what your job is? Your job as a psychic or a medium is to walk through, make your recordings, get in contact, unless your group is one that's built around spirit, contact work. But your job is to go out there and do it. And at the end of it, you go home. That's what you should be doing, unless the group asks you to be a part. And if that is so, then you go and ignore whatever's coming through, or you keep yourself open, and you just kind of step in the background and you kind of whisper to somebody, "Listen, I'm getting a little vibration here. Maybe this might be a good place to look or to work or whatever." That's what you do. You don't take over. I don't know how many times I've been on investigations that mediums have been there, and it's like they didn't know that I did the work, and all of a sudden it's all about them. Well, guess what? It's not about you. It's never about you. It's about the work that you do, and that's the way you should be working it. And too many people think that they're special because they can be a medium, or they're special because they're a psychic, or they're special because they're a witch. Here's the big bottom line, gang. You're not special. You know what you are? You're like everybody else, except you went and you took the time to learn, and you took the time to listen to spirit. That's all it is. It's like a muscle. You just relearn how to use it. That's it. That's it. With witchcraft or anything like that, or manifesting or doing healing, what you're doing is you're learning to focus. You're learning to direct. And that's what it is. But you're not special, because it's a cognitive trait. It's a cognitive skill that you learn and you develop in order to go and direct what you're doing, and being service of spirit.
Mm-hmm. Now, you were talking about healing, and I'm going to jump in the last subcategory that I've got since time is running out. But let's talk about healers for a second, like Reiki practitioners. Everyone says Reiki is 100% safe to do, but there has to be a pitfall somewhere.
Well, Reiki is. I'm a firm believer, but this is the bottom line. You're taught that Reiki can do no harm. If you so believe, so it is. Remember, energy is neither positive or negative.
Mm-hmm.
It's neutral. Any energy out there can be manipulated for good or bad, and it can be manipulated by those living and those past. I'm a firm believer that you have got to go and have those ethics. You've got to have those teachings. You've got to be able to go and understand that energy is something that can help or hinder. Reiki, if you do it and you follow it properly, can do no harm. It can do no harm because you're bringing through a golden universal energy. You're directing it into that patient or into that client. You're doing it for all the highest and best. You're doing it for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yet that same energy can be manipulated for the negative by someone else who wishes to go and send it in that form. Thought forms, good and bad, can be created.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And again, like I said earlier on, the bottom line for all of this is kind of do what you need to do what you want to do, follow some of the guidelines that you've just been telling everybody. But the bottom line on this is, and ye harm none. Now that includes people you're dealing with, but that also includes yourself.
Exactly. Because it boomerangs. I don't care what anybody says. It boomerangs. And you got to watch it. You got to watch it. That's why people hear me spouting off about being positive. That's why when they look at my Facebook, I always try to put something there positive or send love to someone who's really, bashing me or whatever. And the reason for it is that, yes, it hurts. Yes, I'm human. But you know what? You got to do it, and you got to live in a positive manner, because that's all we have in this life. It's up to us. By doing it and living in a positive manner, we're attracting, like attracts like, we're attracting these positive rays, this positive energy to us, and it enhances our life, and it helps us get through these really serious and sometimes really tough situations. And that's what's important about it. But if you go and you want to go and do something negative, get ready for it, because it's going to come back to you.
And I think that's kind of the eye-opener here, and unfortunately a lot of people learn it the hard way.
And you know what? Sometimes, and like Deborah Wilson said, sometimes it's meant to be. Sometimes these people, it's the only way they're going to learn. You know?
That's the thing. I mean, somebody was asking me the other day about, somebody's having a big problem and I'm going to step in and do what I can to fix it. And I'm like, no, sometimes you have to step back.
Well,
because that's their path.
Exactly. It's just like having an argument with somebody and somebody stepping in. You know what? Sometimes it works, and a lot of times it doesn't.
Well, not even working or not working. It's some things are meant to be.
Yes,
and,
I agree with that.
If somebody at some point is scheduled to crash and burn, so to speak, then we have to step away and let them do it. We do what we can. We help any way we can, for the most part. But there comes a time that if you're practiced enough, if you're savvy enough, like you said earlier, when it's time to step back and let the chips fall where they may. We can't solve all the problems of the world metaphysically, either by spell work, by Reiki, by mediumship. We cannot. We all have our own path. We're born with it. I believe that we come into this world with it. We write it up before we come. It has to do with karma. And we live it. And there are people along the way that will be able to help, and there will be people that can't. It's up to us then to pull up the bootstraps and do what we can.
And it's up to spirit. Here's the bottom line. You know what? We can go and manifest. We can go and push. We can go and focus our intent. But if spirit is dead fast against it, it's not going to happen. So we got to understand that, because spirit is going to guide us. And if we want to go against spirit, well, you know what? That's we're going to have to take the good with the bad.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. All right, well, we are just about time to go.
That's good English.
I'm really
glad.
Well.
I'm glad that you do so many great voiceovers and stuff. And you were Miss Kit Kat of 1989 in the centerfold and everything. And it was because of your vocal eloquence.
My vocal eloquence, but yeah, the brain is not always engaged. But we need to step down off our soapbox, and I really want to thank you, because this was something that I really felt strongly about. It really needed to be addressed. So
admit it. You just wanted to hear me say that I worked in the craft. Admit it.
Well, I say that in public, because I know that you do anyway in private, but, I'm glad that, you put on your big boy pants and you actually admitted it. I'm very, very happy about that. And so we did a little mini Reverend Witch show tonight, and we probably could have done this one for 2 hours. But we both got some good Reverend Witch shows coming up in the near future, including another online seance. So we'll be talking about that a little bit more as the time nears. But in the meantime, guys, we'll be back next week with some really great guests, both of us, on the Black Cat Lounge and Stirring the Cauldron. And Tim, again, thank you very much.
Anytime, kiddo, and say goodnight.
Blessed be, and merry meet again, everybody. Good night.
This has been another edition of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. Be sure to tune in next week at the same time for another great guest and more fun. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2009.
You have been listening to the Para X Radio Network.